we're gonna go right into our approach and retreat exercise. And the approach and retreat exercise is really about slowing down what I call the anticipation effect. All horses have this anticipation effect where they start to, once you start doing this type of like concentrated training with them, they start to anticipate like what's coming next, which is very natural, which is actually a good thing because it helps them to look for the right answers. It keeps them curious and engaged. But sometimes the anticipation effect can be to their detriment because then they're anticipating things that you're not asking, right? And when you get horses that are fidgeting, that are dancing, that are slinging their heads around, or maybe they're responding thinking that you're going to ask for a sensitizing exercise when you're just asking for a desensitizing exercise. So we want to teach them that it's good to anticipate, but I don't want them to overreact in that anticipation. So really cool exercise is called approach and retreat. I'm going to back her up because we've been working on staying out of my space. It's always got to be consistent. Approach and retreat. And approach and retreat you can do from any angle. I like to start kind of in front of them first. And basically what that looks like is I go up, I rub my horse, and then I back away. And the expectation is that they stand there. A lot of horses, when you back away, they'll want to kind of draw toward you, okay? I want her to kind of stand there and not draw towards. She's kind of creeping, so I'm going to say, nope, back up, wait. Let's get one more step. There, good girl. And so when I approach, I want her to stand still. And when I retreat, I want her to stand still and not anticipate going forward with me. So you can do it from in front. You can get to the point to where you can really run up to your horse, rub on them, and then quickly back up and see how they do that. And you can begin to increase the energy and the noise and more, right? So that way, like when you're riding your horse and some crazy kid comes out and starts running around playing freeze tag or whatever, your horse isn't like, oh my God, let me run away. They're learning to be patient and wait for you. They're learning, or if you're riding your horse and another horse is coming toward them and barreling past you, you're teaching them that they don't have to be overreactive. And you can see how she kind of threw her head up a little bit. Like, I'd like to keep working on that until she's not throwing up that head at all, where I just keep approaching and retreating and she's not throwing that head up, right? And the only way we get there is by doing it over and over again. And what happens is by doing it over and over again, it just becomes boring. I'm gonna wait for her to really soften and relax. I want her to lower her head here. So I'm gonna kind of rub. There, good girl. I'm gonna come at her again here. Good girl, I'm gonna get her to soften, lower her head. Good. So you can see she's getting a little better with it, but you can see there's also room for improvement. So like, don't skip this stuff. Like, this is the kind of stuff that you really want to get in there and nitpick at. Is her response terrible? Absolutely. Like most horses with the pressure I'm putting on her, but we've worked on this a few times. You know, they're running backwards, right? They're throwing up that head, they're squealing, you know, all kinds of stuff. So you want to make sure that your horse, like, the most important thing is that those feet stand still, right? Because again, remember, forward is never the answer, right? So I don't want her just freaking out and trying to take to her feet and darting off. I want her to relax and wait for me to comfort her and know that every time that like something scary comes her way, don't worry, because I'm right there to rub it away. You don't have to worry. You can rest and relax. Everything's okay. So you can do the approach and retreat starting from the front. You can also do it to where you're running at your pony towards the side. She's kind of anticipating that I'm going to draw her in, so I'm going to have her step over. So you can even just do approach and retreat with that. Okay, so for example, I might come from this position to this position. Good girl. Back to this position. I'm going to say stand still. Back to this position. See, I have the belly of the rope kind of on the ground there. That way I'm not putting pressure on her. Very good. So that time she stood without trying to shift forward or toward me. And then you can work her going in and out from this position without her responding. Some of you might be thinking, well, how does she know to stand still? Because when I ask her to move the front end, you're coming in very similar. You're adding pressure, and the expectation is for her to move away, right? Well, when I'm asking her to move that front end, I'm actually going in with very direct energy, right? My energy is very active, right? I'm looking for her to move. I'm driving that energy towards her. But when I'm doing my approach and retreat, my energy isn't necessarily directed towards the front end. I'm just having raw energy, undirected, come towards her, and then loving and rubbing on her. And so it's a lot to ask of a horse, but it also helps to develop their understanding and their trust so much more when they can negotiate those subtle distinctions as to what your intent is. And that's the whole point of the approach and retreat, is so that they understand what your intent is. They're not just anticipating just to anticipate, but they're waiting, they're getting your direction, and then they are responding in kind.